There exists a boundary, thin as mist, between the visible and the invisible, the seen and the unseen, the rational and the mysterious. Across that boundary walks the archetype of the witch, not as the cartoon figure we've come to know, but as a symbol of deep inner wisdom, forbidden power, and the ancient connection between nature and the soul. The witch is the mirror of humanity's subconscious, a keeper of mysteries we're often too afraid to uncover. Throughout history, witches have not only cast spells, but posed questions, disturbing, eerie, yet revealing questions. These are not meant for casual curiosity. They are riddles cloaked in shadow, inquiries that pierce into the marrow of desire, fear, sacrifice, and truth. Because, you see, before the spell is cast, the price must be named, and the truth must be faced. Tonight, we explore not just questions, but thresholds, for every spell is a door, and every question is a key. The most engaging part of this journey isn't the spell itself, but the moment just before it, the silence, the breath, and the question. Imagine standing in the dead of night, under a blood moon, a circle of salt around your feet, and a voice, low and knowing, whispers, "Do you truly understand what must be sacrificed?" That is not just a question. That is a challenge to your soul. That is the witch inviting you not into darkness, but into self-realization. These creepy questions are not about broomsticks and potions. They're about transformation, karma, and the raw truth beneath desire. Each one reflects something deeper than fear. They reveal whether you are truly ready to receive what you ask for. So, in this speech, we dive into the 10 creepy questions witches ask before casting spells, not for entertainment, but for elevation. Because if you truly listen to these questions, you may begin to see they are not from witches to others, but from the deeper self to you, and the most terrifying realization, you've already heard some of them. In your own mind, as we conclude this exploration, it's important to recognize that the witch, the spell, the question, they are all metaphors. In the modern world, we may not gather around cauldrons, but we do gather intentions. We do craft words like incantations, and we do make choices that have power, whether we admit it or not. Each of the creepy questions is meant to slow you down, to force you to confront something modern life rarely gives us space to consider, the weight of our own desires. What do you want? That's easy to answer, but what will it cost you? That question changes everything. There is a strange sacredness in these eerie, uncomfortable questions. They are unsettling because they uncover hidden motivations. They strip away illusion. When a witch asks whose blood shall be spilled, it's not always literal, it's psychological. It means who will suffer from your actions. Are you prepared to let others feel your ripple? In a world so fixated on outcomes, money, love, success, we rarely look at the full picture. The witch forces us to. She forces us to ask, if I ask for power, what parts of me must die? If I seek revenge, will I become the very thing I hate? If I demand love, is it love I seek, or validation? These are the real spells, words charged with consequence. In your life, there will be moments when you are metaphorically standing at the edge of a spell, about to make a decision, pursue a dream, confront a betrayal, or take a risk. And whether or not you hear the question out loud, it will come. Will you be honest with your answer? To walk the path of inner mastery is to be both the one who casts the spell and the one who answers the question. You are both the witch and the seeker, both the mystery and the key, and if you truly want transformation, not just momentary gratification, you must be willing to stand in the dark and listen to the questions you fear the most. So the next time you hear a question in your mind that chills you, don't run, don't silence it, lean in. It might just be your soul asking if you're ready for the spell you're about to cast, because the spell is not out there. It is within, and the question is no longer hers to ask. It is yours. The question of sacrifice is never asked lightly, and it is never truly about the object itself. It is about the willingness. What are you willing to lose? Is not merely a practical inquiry, but a philosophical and spiritual one. It shakes the foundation of our attachment, our comfort, and our illusions of control. This question precedes any act of deep transformation. Before the witch casts the spell, before the wish is granted, before the change takes root, This question hangs in the air, cold and unmoving. It is not a threat. It is an invitation to step into truth. The witch, symbolic or real, is not interested in shallow desires. She doesn't deal in bargains of convenience. Her question is pointed, ancient, and unnervingly specific. What are you willing to give up? Not in theory, but in blood, breath, habit, identity. The sacrifice asked may be a person, a belief, a lifestyle, a lie you've built your entire life around, and until you answer honestly, no true spell can take effect. That's the hidden law of spiritual power. It demands space. And space only comes when something is cleared, when something is offered. This question is so creepy because we know that in our own lives, we ask for things without ever preparing to make room for them. We beg the universe for love, yet cling to fear and independence like armor. We pray for success, yet cradle procrastination and comfort. We seek freedom, but chain ourselves to guilt and obligation. We want without letting go, and the witch, in her grim wisdom, stops us cold with that question. If you want this, what must you first leave behind? That question is terrifying because it strips away our illusions of gain without cost. It demands that we recognize the equation of transformation. To become someone else, part of who you are must be buried. To ascend, something of the earth must be returned. There is no rise without release. The witch, ancient and still, waits not for the correctness of your answer, but the honesty of it. And honesty means recognizing what you truly value. Often, the most haunting realization is not what we have to give up, but how tightly we cling to it, even when it no longer serves us. Imagine someone who says they want healing, yet refuses to surrender their resentment. The spell cannot work. The magic cannot begin. The energy is blocked, not by others, not by the stars, but by our own unwillingness to release the poison we secretly feed on. And sometimes the sacrifice is internal, an identity we built around being the victim, the underdog, the overlooked. To truly change would mean giving up the comfort of being misunderstood. It would mean stepping into responsibility, visibility, vulnerability. That too is a sacrifice, one that most people are not ready to make, because pain can become a home and bitterness can become a shield. Letting it go feels like death. When a witch says, "What are you willing to lose?" she is not asking to punish you. She is offering you a mirror. She is pointing to the hidden altar inside you and asking, what will you lay upon it? Will it be your excuses, your self-pity, your control, or will you turn away and say, nothing? I want change, but I want to stay the same. That answer, too, has consequences. In mythology, sacrifice was often literal offerings of animals, food, even human life, but in the modern context, the sacrifices are far more personal: time, ego, secrets. Relationships that no longer reflect our truth. We often ask for new chapters, but we hoard the pages of the old ones like relics. We are afraid to close the book, even though the story is finished. And yet, there's a strange liberation that comes when we answer that question honestly. When we say, yes, I am willing to lose this, we are no longer victims of fate. We become its architects. The sacrifice becomes sacred, not tragic. We are no longer being punished by loss, but purified by choice. This is when the real magic begins, not when we chant or burn herbs or write sigils, but when we choose what must be left behind and let it go with full awareness. This is also why some of the most powerful spiritual shifts happen in moments of grief or surrender. When we lose something we never thought we could live without, and somehow life goes on. In those moments, a spell has already been cast, not by external force, but by the soul's initiation. Pain stripped away the false layers, and what was left was raw power, raw clarity, raw presence. So, when the witch asks, "What are you willing to lose?" we must not answer quickly. We must pause. We must look around the chambers of our life and our heart and ask, what am I clinging to out of fear? What outdated version of myself am I protecting like an old talisman? What relationships am I keeping alive out of guilt or habit? What belief systems are keeping me safe, but also small? To step into a new way of being is to step out of the old one. That's the essence of the spell, that's the cost, and every witch, every wise soul, every truth seeker knows this. No healing comes without grieving, no awakening comes without dying, no light comes without first turning away from the comfort of darkness. And so the question echoes, not from some fairy tale figure, but from the deeper part of your own consciousness. What are you willing to lose? Only those who are willing to give up who they were can become what they are meant to be. And in that moment of decision, the spell doesn't just begin, it becomes you. Why do you truly want this? This question may seem simple at first, a whisper in the wind, a rhetorical curiosity, but if allowed to echo long enough, it transforms into a storm inside the seeker. Because desire, in its purest form, reveals everything: motivation, intention, truth, and shadow. When the witch poses this question, she is not simply asking for your reason. She is excavating your soul. She is peeling away every polite justification and looking directly into the raw, unspoken need behind the request. Why do you want this spell? What is your real motive? Not the one you tell others, not even the one you tell yourself, but the one that stirs in the dark recesses of your being. You see, the universe does not respond to words. It responds to vibration, energy, alignment. The true language of reality is not spoken aloud, but whispered in the quiet honesty of your spirit. And if the frequency of your intention is polluted by desperation, by vengeance, by ego, the spell you cast, the change you seek, may not heal you, it may consume you. That is the danger of desire unexamined. That is why the witch asks before anything else. Why? It is a chilling question because it demands self-interrogation. When someone says, "I want love," what do they mean? Do they want someone to worship them, to fix them, to distract them from loneliness? Or do they want to give love to build a soul, bond rooted in mutual evolution? When someone says, "I want success," do they crave validation, or do they truly wish to serve a purpose bigger than themselves? When someone prays for revenge, do they understand that the energy they send out will, one day, return? The witch knows that intention shapes outcome. The roots define the fruit. And if the seed of a spell is corrupted by unconscious motive, the fruit will carry that poison forward. You cannot cast a love spell to possess someone and call it romantic. You cannot ask for fortune while refusing to be generous. You cannot beg for peace if your mind is full of rage. The spell obeys the truth beneath the surface, not the mask. This is why many so-called manifestations never come to pass, because the true intention is split. You ask for change but resist responsibility. You ask for healing but refuse to release the pain. You want to be seen but fear being vulnerable. That contradiction creates static in the energy field, and the universe listens to the static, not the script. When the witch asks, "Why do you want this?" she is really asking you to trace your desire back to its origin. Not the desire itself, but the place it comes from. Is it born of love or fear, expansion or lack? Is it rooted in past wounds that have never been addressed, or is it a call from the future self, inviting you to grow into a new shape? To answer this question truthfully is to stare into a mirror you cannot look away from, and the reflection might not be flattering. You may realize you don't want what you thought you did, or worse, you may realize you do, and it comes from a place you're ashamed of. That's when the real work begins, because the moment you recognize your hidden motives, you are faced with a choice: continue forward with corrupted energy, or begin the process of realignment. This is also where the depth of spiritual maturity is tested, not in the power to cast a spell, but in the power to pause, to examine, to wait. Not all desire must be fulfilled. Some must be transmuted, some must be surrendered, and some must be transformed from the inside out before they can safely be manifested. There's an ancient lesson here, hidden in plain sight. The witch does not ask what you want, she asks why, because the what is a symptom, the why is the cause, and cause determines consequence. If you wish for beauty because you believe it will make you lovable, you will never be free. If you seek wealth because you believe it will make you worthy, you will always be lacking. If you demand power because you feel powerless, you will become a tyrant in disguise. The intention underneath the spell is what makes it sacred or dangerous. To sit with this question is to invite discomfort, and discomfort is the doorway to clarity. Most people avoid it. They prefer distraction over introspection. They want results without reflection. But the witch will not cast for you unless you are willing to walk through that inner fire. She wants your truth, not your performance, and if you are brave enough to answer honestly, you may discover something astonishing. Sometimes the spell you thought you needed becomes unnecessary, because you realize the thing you really seek is not external at all. You don't want a specific person. You want to feel seen. You don't want more money. You want freedom. You don't want revenge. You want peace. And once you see that, you can begin to align with the true energy of your desire. And that is when the spell becomes potent. That is when the universe starts moving in your favor, because you are no longer trying to manipulate outcomes. You are becoming them. The scariest part of this process is that it strips away all excuses. Once you know why you want something, you can no longer pretend. You must own it. You must become responsible for your own hunger, and in doing so, you become powerful, not because you control everything, but because you no longer deceive yourself. So when the witch asks, "Why do you want this?" do not rush to answer. Sit with the silence. Let it press against your chest. Let it show you what you've buried beneath ambition, beneath hope, beneath longing. Let it bring to the surface what you've hidden, and then choose, not from impulse, not from pain, but from deep, grounded intention, because when your why is clear, your spell will not only work, it will elevate you. But if your why is poisoned, the spell will backfire, always. That is the unspoken law of energy. So be still, be honest, be fearless. Ask yourself the question the witch always asks, and let the answer become your initiation. Can you bear the outcome? This question is not a warning. It is not spoken with menace. It is delivered with the calm gravity of someone who has watched countless souls crumble beneath the weight of the very thing they once begged for. It is not about doubting your courage. It is about testing your readiness, because outcomes are not just results. They are transformations, and transformation is rarely gentle. Most who seek spells, wishes, manifestations, whatever name you give it, envision only the arrival of a dream. They imagine the joy of receiving, not the burden of keeping. They imagine change as a doorway that opens, not a corridor that must be walked through. But the witch, with eyes as old as time, knows better. She knows that all things granted come with shadow, that all power demands grounding, that every answered prayer disrupts a former life. And so, before she moves a single finger toward magic, she looks directly into the soul of the seeker and asks, "Can you bear the outcome?" This question lingers because it does not ask if you want it. It asks if you are prepared to carry it. Love, for example, is not just roses and longing. True love breaks your heart open. It exposes you. It challenges the wounds you forgot you had. And if you are not ready for that, the spell will not feel like a gift. It will feel like chaos. Success is not simply money and applause. It is sleepless nights, impossible decisions, and the daily confrontation with your own limits. Can you carry that? Can you stay balanced when the ground underneath you shifts? When you ask for transformation, you are asking to become someone else. That means the person you are today must die in some way. And death, symbolic though it may be, is never clean. It brings grief, confusion, resistance. Even when change is for the better, it leaves behind the corpse of what once was. This is the price that is not often spoken about. And it is why the witch does not ask, "Are you excited?" She asks, "Are you prepared?" Most people are prepared to receive. Few are prepared to evolve. The future you desire may already exist, but you must rise to meet it. That is the truth hidden in this question. To bear the outcome is to bear the responsibility of who you must become. You cannot ask for sovereignty and continue to play the victim. You cannot ask for abundance and refuse to learn discipline. You cannot ask for a partner and remain unwilling to be seen. These contradictions tear spells apart, not because magic isn't real, but because you are not yet aligned with the life you claim to want. So when the witch asks if you can bear the outcome, she is not doubting your worth. She is measuring your container. She is seeing if your inner structure is strong enough to hold what you've summoned. And if it's not, she will not proceed, not because she wants to deny you, but because she refuses to destroy you. Power in the wrong hands becomes a curse. Even love, when unearned, turns into dependency. This is why so many stories of wishes end in tragedy. The wish was granted, but the recipient had not grown. They wanted magic without maturity. They wanted results without roots. You must understand, every spell is a storm. It sweeps through your life, rearranging everything, sometimes gently, sometimes violently. The stronger the spell, the greater the disruption. It doesn't just give, it takes. It strips away the unnecessary, the false, the weak. And what is left must be strong enough to carry the new reality. That is the cost few people prepare for. They expect magic to be beautiful, and it is. But it is also brutal. The fire that purifies does not ask permission before it burns. The river that cleanses also erodes. The wind that carries you forward may knock others down. This is the nature of real change, and to ask for it is to consent to the loss of your current comfort. So can you bear it? Can you bear being misunderstood, because not everyone will celebrate your evolution? Some will envy it, some will fear it, some will try to pull you back. Can you keep walking anyway? Can you bear loneliness? Because the path you are asking for may take you away from what is familiar. The higher you rise, the fewer people will understand the altitude. Can you breathe that thinner air? Can you bear your own light? Because success, fulfillment, truth, they demand visibility, they demand ownership, they demand that you stop hiding. Can you stand fully in your radiance without shrinking? Can you bear responsibility? Because what you receive will require care. You will have to protect it, nurture it, evolve with it. It's not enough to want, it must be tended, and most hauntingly, can you bear that once the spell works, your life will never go back to what it was? That is the true weight of magic, irreversibility. There is no undo. Once transformation begins, the spell changes not just what surrounds you, but who you are at your core. And though that may be exactly what you asked for, the experience of living through it is often far more confronting than imagined. This is not a reason to fear. It is a reason to prepare, because once you can answer yes to this question, not just with your mouth but with your actions, then you become ready, truly ready, not just to receive the spell's blessing, but to become the kind of person who can hold it with integrity. The witch's question is a gift. It grants you pause. It gives you space to become, because the spell does not work when cast, it works when you change. It is not a wand that moves energy. It is a choice that moves your life. And every choice has a consequence. Can you bear the outcome, not because it is bad, but because it is real? This question, when answered with honesty, becomes the final threshold. It is the gate between wishing and becoming, between wanting and embodying, between the old self and the new. And if you can carry the weight of what you ask for, the spell will not just succeed, it will make you sovereign. But if you are not yet ready, that is not failure. It is wisdom. To delay is not to be denied. It is to honor the process, to strengthen your roots before you bloom. The witch knows this. The universe respects this. And your soul, if you are still enough, knows when the time is right. So sit with the question, let it enter your bones, and when you can finally say, with steady heart and clear eyes, yes, I am ready to carry all that comes, then and only then will the true magic begin.